As we move on to another related development. And the US State Department has approved more than $6.5 billion in potential military sales to Israel. This includes a $1.98 billion sale for joint light tactical vehicles, a $3.8 billion deal for AH-64E Apache helicopters, and $740 million for other equipment. Meanwhile, the General LLC will provide the vehicles, while Boeing and Lockheed Martin will deliver the helicopters. These deals are part of the US's ongoing support to enhance Israel's defense capabilities. The Pentagon made the announcement on January the 30th in separate statements confirming the approval of those key contracts. Ross Feingold joins us once again. What's Washington signaling here, Ross? $6.5 billion to Israel in military aid at this moment.
The signal is the relationship between the Trump administration and Prime Minister Netanyahu is excellent. So even though in the period after President Trump took office and before there was a ceasefire in Gaza, there were sometimes indications that relations between the two leaders had frayed a little bit, wasn't as strong as it was in the first Trump administration. And frankly, that's just completely not true. The ceasefire arrangement, broadly speaking, was a good deal for Israel. The Trump administration isn't supporting punishing or sanctioning Israel over civilian deaths or any type of human rights or war crimes accusations that other countries have made against Israel. And the Trump administration clearly continues to approve new weapon sales to Israel. So the relationship between the two governments, between the two leaders, is I would call it close to 100% aligned at the moment.
Of course, the dissatisfaction, unfavorable view of Israel within the American public has increased drastically in the Democratic Party, but also drastically on the Republican side as well. How contentious are these deals likely to be in Congress and, of course, with the American public as well?
In Congress, it's probably not likely to be contentious, although a growing number of Democrats in Congress and a very small number of Republicans have become more vocal in their criticism of Israel in recent years than compared to decades earlier or any time before the war began in Gaza in October 2023. But generally, I would say the overwhelming majority of members of Congress from both parties continue to support a close U.S.-Israel relationship, and specifically a close U.S.-Israel security relationship, including the sale of weapons by the United States to Israel. So I expect there to be some voices of criticism in Congress, but that will be a small number of people. It will not change the outcome here. As for the public, yes, there will be criticism in the public, whether that's online or scholars, foreign policy experts, people in the media, and specifically the more progressive media outlets, whether that's online or on television. But it will not affect the Trump administration's decision-making, whether on this specific issue or on other aspects of the bilateral U.S.-Israel relationship. So even if there's public criticism of Israel or a growing amount of public criticism of Israel, I think it's safe to say that in the near to midterm, the Trump administration will continue its policy of broadly supporting Israel.
As you've said, Ross, this is nothing new, but Donald Trump is now heading a board of peace, of course, which aims to de-escalate the war in Gaza and advocates for peace in the Middle East and in broader terms, of course. Do you think this could complicate Washington's relationships with partners for pushing for de-escalation in Gaza and the wider region, particularly those states which the Trump administration has particularly warned to, like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, among others who advocate for Palestinian rights?
That's a really interesting question. And I think the short answer is no, this is not an issue. And one reason for that may simply be that some of the countries you mentioned, and specifically the countries that are the stakeholders in where we go from here in Gaza, and that is Egypt and the Gulf countries. All of those countries also want to buy U.S. weapons. So they really, frankly, cannot criticize the Trump administration for a large weapons sale to Israel when those countries also want the Trump administration to approve weapons sales to their countries. So, the answer to your question, frankly, is no. This weapons sale is not going to really have a negative effect on how the Board of Peace operates or those countries that are the key stakeholders in the Board of Peace with regard to where we go from here on reconstructing Gaza.
And do you think arms sales like these leverage US influence over Israel or reduce it?
Over time, the U.S. might lose some of that leverage. And the reason why I say that is Israel has a very, very good domestic arms industry. It continues to grow. It continues to improve its capabilities as to what it can manufacture domestically. But there are still a lot of items that clearly Israel must buy from the United States and sometimes buys from other countries as well, although Israel is also a growing seller around the world. So maybe over time, the U.S. might lose some of that leverage because Israel will continue to develop its domestic weapons manufacturing capabilities. But at the moment, when we're in a situation where the Trump administration is very much aligned with Israel, very much supports arming Israel, there's just not an issue. There's no problem here. The United States is not seeking to use this leverage in ways that would force the Netanyahu government to change any policies.
Ross Feingold, thank you very much for taking the time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you here on the broadcast. We turn now over to some news from the space industry, and according